Nobody would have thought that I would be the one. Rhyner, sports talk.
Baseball, 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 baseball.
Oh, with the big mic. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
We got a lightning strike, boys. What happened over there, Grego? We had a little lightning strike right outside the window.
The Texas Rangers win the World Series.
All right. Here's a tip for all these Americano League teams.
Wait, you said tip?
Yeah, tip.
Okay.
With a P.
Keep jamming.
The ticket, colon, nothing but a big Gen X jerk-off sale.
This is a cool night or what?
Although somebody would hear that and go, bullshit.
I'm back, bitches.
Oh, man. I knew I should have backed out of this before
Our poor guest.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Your Dark Companion. We are glad to have you with us no matter when you may be catching this podcast or no matter where you may be listening to it. You may listen to this at 3 o'clock this Wednesday morning. That's fine. You may be listening while you're taking care of whatever business in the bathroom you have to take care of. That's fine too. See, these things don't matter in the world of the podcast. That's the great thing about it. One of the many great things about it. Anyway, we are here inside the nurturing biosphere of the mothership today. And we have somebody with us today that I just found out there on the internet. Now, this is going to require a little bit of a setup here because I usually don't go flitting about the internet just looking for people or looking for stuff. But occasionally, I come up on something that may intrigue me just a little bit. And even more occasionally, I come up on something that grabs me really hard and says, okay, I got to find out more about this. And that is the case with this person that we have today. I'm flitting about the internet one day, and I come across this girl, woman, lady, who is considerably younger than me. And of course, that encapsulates a very, very wide number. But she's way younger than me, and she is breaking down a Steely Dan song. Well, as many of you may already know, if you know anything about me at all, I love Steely Dan. I love them more than any other musical act out there, more than any other musical act ever. I always have, and I don't anticipate that ever changing. But when I see somebody like this breaking down a Steely Dan song, well, yes, I am intrigued. And I have to find out who this is, so I started looking around, and I landed on the name of this person. The name is Izze Stein. And without further ado, I walked in here in the room and told Shoopy, we got to find this person and get her on, because I've never seen a person of her demographic, with the possible exception of my own young daughter, that into Steely Dan, that much into it. And I've certainly never seen anybody able to get inside what Steely Dan does the way that she did. And Izzy joins us right now. How are you?
Oh, it is great to be here. Thank you, Mike. I can't wait to chat.
I can't wait to chat either. Yeah. And like I say, I don't go around looking for influencers or scene makers or this or that out there on the internet. I literally just stumbled onto you. And I'm watching you talk about Steely Dan, and because I know a lot about it too, although I don't know if I know as much as you, I would quickly learn that. But I was a skeptic at first, saying, okay, let's just listen to this and see what this chick knows. And you started checking boxes left and right. And very quickly, I recognized that this is somebody that may know more about them than I do.
Maybe. I mean, who's to say?
Yeah, who's to say? And I'm not here to one up at anybody. I'm just mainly here to find out first and foremost what got you into that.
Yeah. So I am a musician, and I actually got my start doing musical theater. I did a lot of shows when I was younger. I lived in New Jersey. I went into New York all the time and auditioned for Broadway shows. And then I ended up going to college for musical theater. I was in the musical theater program at the University of Michigan. And really, I basically listened to musicals most of my childhood. And my parents, who were from the Steely Dan era, introduced me to a few essentials: the Beatles, James Taylor. But my music was musical theater. But then, a couple years into school, one of my teachers encouraged me to listen to non-musical songs. And the first person I found was Joni Mitchell, which was
Well, you're checking a lot of boxes for me here.
Yeah. What happens is the way that I discover artists most of the time is I hear one song, and if I find myself listening to that song over and over again, I then listen to the album, and then I go into the whole catalog. So first I heard Joni Mitchell, and then a few months later I heard Black Cow by Steely Dan. And when I first heard Black Cow, I'd never heard anything like that. And so I just dove in, and then I listened to Asia, and then Spotify told me in the Spotify Wrapped earlier this year that in the last 10 years, I have listened to over 86 hours of Steely Dan in the last decade, which of course I thought was a lot. But then when I posted that, all these people who've been listening for the last 50 years were like, try 8,600 hours, and I was like, all right, I'll get there. But no, I mean, I had never really posted about Steely Dan before a few months ago when I got this Spotify stat, and then I posted that. It got a lot of response, and so I just leaned in and posted more about my love for Steely Dan, and then the floodgates open, and I've just been connecting with this amazing Steely Dan fan base, and I've just loved it because everyone has so much. I've been learning so much. So anyway, that's my Steely Dan origin story in long form.
Mine was a little bit different. I got there at the first. I heard
Nice.
Do It Again on the radio one night and thought, wow, this sounds a little bit different from the normal fare that we hear on the AM radio in those days. And I thought, okay, cool. And then I heard it again and again.
Yep.
And started keying in on a few things like the eerie whirly vibe, the sitar solo, and of course there was Donald Fagen singing, which I kind of gravitated to last, but started to realize that there's nobody out there who sings like that.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was playing in a band, and we were traveling around the Midwest and playing on the road quite a bit.
Sweet.
And the guy that I would ride with had Can't Buy a Thrill on 8-track in his car because, it's the way we did things back then. And so we started playing that, and before long, I got way, way into that album. You know? And by the time that trip was finished, I'd pretty much memorized most of it, but went out and bought the record the very first day. And that was pretty much my gateway drug to it. Countdown to Ecstasy came out.
Yeah.
And I was a little late to the party there too. I was thinking, well, they put out one good album. This can't be that. This can't be better than that.
Yeah.
Well, I found out that yes, it was better than that. And then Pretzel Logic came out, and by then I was hooked. I was just absolutely done. I was just really, really eaten up with Steely Dan. Of course, by then we didn't know anything about them. They like it that way. And I thought that that it was just a band, but Pretzel Logic rolled around, and it was not a band. It was two guys and whoever they chose to be around at the time to play on their records,
Yes, exactly.
So there was, kind of getting used to that a little bit, but that's my story. The more they put out, the more I listened to it all, the more into it I got.
Yeah. That's so incredible that you even were there, like a fan from Can't Buy a Thrill. That album is like a perfect album. Every track just hits, and it's amazing. I mean, to have your first album be full of hits like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that rarely happens.
And it's also amazing for a first album to be unlike anything else that you heard on the radio back then. Now, at that time, I, for one, was not smart enough to realize that. And I didn't hear a lot of other people talking about it either. So I don't think that that's any kind of big failing on my part. But looking back on that now and listening to it now against the backdrop of everything else they ever did, and then comparing it to what else was on the radio back then, and yes, you see that this is a whole different animal.
But even still, I mean, just I if I could go back and be in an era of the world, I would hands down want to be in the 1970s, just to turn on the radio and hear the variety that was available at the time. Like, I hear what you're saying, that Steely Dan, they had a unique sound compared to the other artists at the time, but like the other artists at the time were also amazing. Like,
yeah.
It was one after the other.
And believe me, I don't say that throwing shade on any of the other artists at the time. I'm just saying that Steely Dan was a little bit different. I don't know if that necessarily makes them better or worse, but they were different,
Oh yeah. Unique.
Yes, unique.
One of one. Yeah.
So what got you into playing Steely Dan, and what got you into listening to Steely Dan so much that you decided you would get on the internet and break down their stuff?
Well, as far as playing live, I play a lot of shows where I play my original music, but I also do a lot of covers. And people compare me to Carole King a lot because of my look, and also I play piano and sing. So I've done a lot of Carole King, and then because I really dove into Joni Mitchell, I started putting some Joni Mitchell on my set. And then the requests that people would give me were often just 70s, a lot of Elton John requests, Billy Joel requests. And, especially once I started seeing how passionate the fan base was for Steely Dan, I was like, well, let me play some Steely Dan in my shows, and really, I mean, it's interesting because sometimes I'll play a Steely Dan song and nobody in the audience will know what it is. I actually recently went on tour in the Philippines, and there were a lot of Steely Dan fans there that came because they saw my social media posts, and so they showed up and asked for Steely Dan. But also there were some places that had no idea who Steely Dan was. So it's interesting because a lot of their songs are not necessarily like sing along type, everyone clap your hands. So because they're in this sort of jazz rock fusion place, but there's a lot of people, especially a lot of people in my generation, who I have talked about with Steely Dan and are now listening to Steely Dan that have never heard of them before, which is just amazing. One of my close friends, I just saw him, he's like, yeah, Royal Scam is great. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like a whole new generation to love amazing music from this catalog.
And it is amazing music too.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff that those guys compose and the meticulousness of their compositions, their recordings, everything about them is it's just a cut above, It's just a cut above everything you hear out there, or everything I hear out there.
Yeah, like also just the wisdom with which they come at the writing process. There's so many moments in their songs and in the placement of their, like even the single FM in between Asia and Gaucho, like that was just so cool, to write about music in that sense for a single in between two of their greatest albums. So smart. And, they could have written about anything. I mean, something I love to discuss is their very last song, Everything Must Go. That song is beyond, they were so self-aware in everything that they wrote, and we get to have that forever. So we're just lucky ones.
That song always brings up a little bit of a tinge of regret for me, though.
Everything
Because
must go.
because it was like they knew what they were doing. They knew that was it, or Donald knew that was it. Donald knew that anything else he was going to do from now on was going to be under his own name, and that was closing the chapter of on Steely Dan. And as that song fades out, that's like like I'm standing on the shore and watching a whole segment of my life sail up into the wind, just going like that.
Yeah.
Another thing that always got me about Steely Dan is, and I'm really not that much into this most of the time, but the lyrics. Steely Dan, because they were so so murky, so mysterious. They made some sort of hint of sense to somebody, but I don't know who. Maybe not even to them. But it's like they just were really, really good at finding words that fit together, hang together, tell some sort of a story, and sounded neat together. And that, I'm kind of a word nerd anyway, and that really tickled my funny bone.
Yeah. Just when I spent the last piaster I could borrow. What the heck is a piaster? Like, how did they even know? I mean, they both went to Bard, right? So they were very educated, well educated. And but the thing is, they don't use words that are not common. They don't use it in a pretentious way. Like, it actually is the right word for what they're trying to mean. And it encourages the listener to expand their knowledge rather than challenge what was written. So that's a gift too.
I've heard a lot of people say that when they listen to Steely Dan, they feel like they're being talked down to, and they feel like that those guys have the smartest guy in the room complex. That they've always got to be the smartest guy in the room. And you know what? I can see both of those things, but hey, give me more. I want more. I want you talking down to me, you know? And I want you to be the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, and with the so you asked about how I started to post about it. I mean, I really just took a leap of faith. I just thought I would do an album breakdown because I started actually with Pretzel Logic as my album breakdown, because that album, a few of the tracks on that album, I think that was the first album that really had a unique character overall, rather than just really great songs.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just got a huge, overwhelming response from people watching and commenting and following. And then I was like, all right, let me do a breakdown of all of the albums. And I can speak to, as I was breaking down each of the albums and going track by track and really listening for all the moments that I wanted to talk about. When it comes to the lyrics, there were a lot of songs that I didn't know what they were about. But then when I looked into what they were about and went back in the lyrics, it was almost like everything was decoded. And it was fascinating that some of the topics that they chose to talk about were like super random and super unexpected, and also like why were they even thinking to talk about this sort of subject? But the lyrics really told those stories every single time. It's incredible.
It's definitely not run-of-the-mill stuff. Not on any front.
Nope.
So do you play Steely Dan at your gigs a lot?
Yes, I do. And especially now, people will request. So I have.
Oh, they do? So you're becoming known for this, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's also really fun because the only female voice that's ever sang on any of their songs was on Pixeline with Carolyn Leonhardt. She sounds great. So I think maybe it's fun for people to hear a sort of different interpretation of the songs. And also, a lot of the gigs I've been doing recently have been piano and voice. So they're like acoustic versions that really showcase the writing and the melodies of their songs.
Thank you for bringing up Pixeline. That's one of my favorite songs. Just wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, enough about them for right now. Let's talk about you.
All right.
Now, tell me a little bit about your musical scene.
All right, my scene. I have been in New York for 7 years, and so I mentioned that I moved to New York I had this whole musical theater vision, went to school for musical theater, moved to New York, and then less than a year after I moved to New York, all of the theaters closed. And I really wanted to perform. So a little bit over a year after everything closed, I walked into this hotel that had a piano in the lobby, and I asked if they wanted a singer, because I figured it might be COVID safe because it was pretty small. And they said yes. So that's how my current trajectory started. I just started singing twice a week at this piano lounge in my neighborhood. And I then pursued more gigs. And as I was singing at all these different clubs and venues in the city, I was doing mostly cover and mostly jazz gigs, because there's a great jazz scene in New York City. And after doing covers for a while, I thought maybe I should try putting my own music out there and seeing what would happen, because I had written a few musicals in the musical theater world, but I'd never tried writing sort of more pop contemporary music. And I did a show at Rockwood Music Hall, which is no longer open, which is very sad because there was a lot of history there. And at that show, there was such a great response to what I was doing that I figured that the singer-songwriter path was probably a good match to keep pursuing. And so then the songs that I performed that night at Rockwood, I ended up recording on an album, and I released the album last year. I went on my first 3 tours since I released my album last year. And now I'm continuing on that path. I'm starting the process of my next album. So that's where I'm at now.
So Questions, that's the album we're talking about here?
That's the album, yeah.
What's it like? I've not had a chance to listen to really any of it yet.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, as a Steely Dan fan, I think the 3 tracks that you'll vibe with the most, Body of Gold has a big major minor play, which is sort of when the music sounds, well, you're a musician, so you know. But for the people who are musicians, major minor, it goes from making a song sound emotional and a little bit sad to sounding bright, but in the span of a few seconds. So that's Body of Gold. Talk to Me is another track on there that's very 70s inspired. There's a long outro there that's similar to a lot of Steely Dan songs. And then also there's a track called Unaware, which is very 70s coded, the chord progression. I hear a lot of also, in addition to Steely Dan, Kenny Loggins in that particular track. So a good groove there too. I had amazing musicians with me on this album, but the album itself is somewhere between soul and jazz. Nice. Yeah.
Who are some of the other artists you like besides Steely Dan?
Well, I'll ask you this too after I share, but I love asking people what their Mount Rushmore of musicians are. So the 4 people that, like, you know, you put them in stone, who would they be? For me, it's Steely Dan, it's Joni Mitchell, and then I would also have my other 2 be Erykah Badu and Amy Winehouse.
Okay.
So soul, yeah, all across the board, but all under the umbrella of soul. So who is your Mount Rushmore?
All right, Steely Dan, for sure.
Yeah.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers
Heck yeah.
is another. I gotta have them in there. I really can't do this without McCartney. Gotta have him in there somewhere, both for the Beatles and for what he has done on his own. A lot of people laugh at me, but I'm a sucker for McCartney. I've always been.
Thanks.
I don't
They're
care
great.
how silly. I don't care how silly or how schlocky people might think he gets. I love it.
Yeah.
And number 4, for the moment, I think I'll stick with Theodore Roosevelt.
His mixtape.
Let
TR's
me
mixtape.
let me think about that a little bit. But
Yeah.
those 3 are for sure.
Yeah. That's great.
I mean, I got to have those 3.
Yeah.
Do you ever play with bands or anything like that, or are you just a solo performer? Or?
I do both. I often play piano and sing, and there'll be a bassist and a drummer added. I've done gigs with a sax. I also do gigs where I stand and I have a pianist play. Yeah, I love, and I really don't collaborate with guitarists often, but I would love to. I mean, especially for the Steely Dan stuff, I think if I keep playing it more, I'm going to need some people who can nail those solos. Like, would be a big enhancement, I would say.
I've seen some of your videos doing that. You got some moves, girl.
Thank you.
You got some moves. I mean, you can dance. You can move around and not look stilted or anything like that. It just flows out of you.
I appreciate that. All those years of dance training, you know, Broadway dance. And I actually, dance was the first thing I did before music. And yeah, I mean, the only style I haven't really been able to incorporate in my Steely dances is tap dance. So maybe there's something, maybe with like Parker's Band or some, no, East St. Louis Toodaloo could probably have some tap, soft shoe.
It'd probably fit into something like that.
Yeah.
So what is the hometown music group that you're part of?
Oh my gosh. It's always blows my mind to have a chat with someone like on a podcast and they actually look into what I do, because you know, you just never know. Yeah, hometown. So so we're called Hometown Music Group because we're 6 friends who are all from the same hometown in New Jersey. And actually my brother is in the group with me, which is cool. And the 4 of us, we have been getting together in Nashville for the last few years and creating a songbook of our own, collaborating on sort of melding all of our different styles. And we put out our first album a couple years ago as well. And we have a whole catalog of songs, and they're really they're songs that come from the heart and songs that speak about things that are related to home, hence the name Hometown. And one of the other members, John, has also been really skyrocketing on social media, which is so cool. He's been posting, his name's John Pasiga, and he's been posting these this series. He plays piano, and the series is what is it called? Like songs that shouldn't have a piano solo on them, and then he plays an amazing piano solo, and all those people comment and they're like, oh my god, you did it again. And it's cool because he also covers in that series a lot of songs from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and he nails them. So yeah, John and my brother Merrick and Kyle and Brett and Carol and I, we have been creating music, and we're just we're hoping to get the song. I mean, a lot of the songs we've written are for specific intents. We have a song about moms, which we really would love to see featured one year for Mother's Day in some way, because it's literally called Mom Song. And we actually recently wrote a song about In-N-Out Burger called In-N-Out. And we also wrote a song called Buc-ee's, which I'm not sure if you saw that when you saw Hometown Music Group.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
You wrote a song called Buc-ee's?
Oh, yes. And it is.
For Buc-ee's?
It is about Buc-ee's.
Oh man, I'm a fool for Buc-ee's. I can't drive past one.
No, it's impossible.
So what does your brother play?
My brother is a writer, singer, rapper, and he also plays piano. My brother, he writes music and lyrics, and he also wrote a book a few years ago. So he's writer extraordinaire, and it's really fun to be collaborating with him. It's like. He's older than me, yeah. You know, Billie Eilish and Phineas, they have that vibe, and I'm lucky to have my only sibling is also a musician. I feel really lucky about that, and he's just the best.
Do you have a set group of players that you play with when you do something other than solo stuff?
You know,
like I guess what I'm asking you is, do you have a band of some sort?
I play with a band, and the way that I did my tour last summer, which was my first tour, was I traveled solo, and then I had trios in the different regions that I played. So I played with a trio in Texas. We did Austin, San Antonio, and Houston, 3 days. Did not do Dallas, but I have to come back and do Dallas at some point. I had a Northern California trio. My Nashville, the hometown group is my Nashville group, and then I also, of course, have a New York trio. And I actually really like playing with different, I mean, maybe I'm just like Steely Dan. I can't, I don't want to stick with the same musicians all the time.
Right.
Because I love getting different flavors of different musicians' backgrounds and the way that they play. And I get a lot of ideas from my own writing and the styles that I perform when I play with different musicians. So I didn't even think about how that's actually very similar to Steely Dan with bringing in all those session musicians. I'm just doing it live.
You know, I don't know how familiar with the lay of the land of our fair burg you are, maybe not at all, and this may not be a question you feel even slightly qualified to answer. But if you were going to play here, what type of room would you want to play in?
In Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, what type of room do you play in at these other places you play?
Right now, I'm living in this world of smaller venues where it's really intimate. I love filling up a room of like 50 to 100 people, and it's like it becomes a listening room experience. Yeah, I mean, I love outdoors, I love indoors. It could be a supper club where people eat, it could be a theater where there's just seats. I'm pretty open, but no, I tried to play in Dallas for my tour. It just, the dates didn't work out, but I'm definitely due to come back to Dallas and do something, especially I'm connecting with a lot of Steely Dan people in Dallas. So I think there's probably Dallas on the horizon for some event.
Who do you think she would fit in at? I'm speaking to Becca now.
I mean, that opening bell where we're going to listen to May Lynn and Jay Joyce coming up is a really good place.
That'd be good.
But there's a lot of great small venues.
Yeah, there would be a fit for you somewhere here in our fair burg.
The Echo Room would be interesting.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that'd
that
be
sounds
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
All right, now, I see you are headed down this way to play at Geraldine's
Yes.
in
that's
Austin
right.
before long.
Yes, at the end of the month. That'll be with my Texas trio. So that'll be a good time.
Are any of those local guys that I might know?
They're in Austin.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have that kind of reach.
Hey, if you make it down to Austin, I will play Steely Dan if you come. For sure.
I don't want you to do that for me. I want you to do what you want to do.
Oh, I want to do it too. It would be a perfect match.
Well, if you didn't do Steely Dan, what would you do?
Oh, I mean, honestly, I've learned so many songs over the last, I guess I've been doing this for, like 5 or 6 years. I mean, I love anything from the 70s, as I mentioned, but I also, I love doing like early 2000s. I do Alicia Keys. I'll pull out some Britney Spears. I play some Bruno Mars, which people really love, Lady Gaga. I do some Adele. Sort of top 40 across the board. That's where I know most of the songs from. Yeah.
Your debut album, Questions, was released in 2025. I don't think we've touched on that too much yet, have we?
No.
What's
We can keep going, yeah.
What's that like?
Question. So the music style of the jazz soul, I really wanted to pay homage to a lot of the women in jazz and also R&B really from the beginning of the jazz era. There's some Ella Fitzgerald influence on there. There's a lot of Erykah Badu, Lauryn Hill, Alicia Keys influence. And the songs are just about a time in my life where I felt I had a lot of questions about where I was at in some romantic relationships and with my career, and hence the title, Questions. So yeah, it's mostly romantic, but there's a song on there, Back to My Life, which is a total jazz standard. It sounds like it comes from the musical Chicago, and it's just about the story of what I was living in New York, which was I would perform on stage and it would be amazing, and then I would wake up the next day and things would be completely hard and difficult, and it just was a roller coaster of up and down. So I wrote a song about it, and that's a song that when I play, people really connect with across the board, I would say.
Yeah. Let's see here. You've got your show at Geraldine's coming up in Austin.
Yes.
That's right.
On August 30th.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. That's it.
And says a virtual concert is coming up August 15th.
Yes.
At 7. All right, now tell us how that's going to work.
So the virtual concerts I've been doing I started earlier this year, and they've been really fun because people can tune in from wherever they are. In the last show, there was a friend from the Philippines who came, and then the show before, someone from Russia tuned in, which both of those are wild to me because I was doing it at a normal time for the US hours, and they were tuning in like way early in the morning. So with the virtual concert, I set up similar to this, but I have my piano and I just play an hour of songs that's original music, and also a lot of people give requests. So that's always really fun, and anyone can tune in from anywhere for that. So if you're free on Saturday the 15th, or the 15th or the 16th? 15th.
Is what I've got.
Sweet. Yeah, come through to the virtual concert. And if not this one, I'll do another one in September. So.
What is the web address for that?
Well, if you sign up for my email list, I send everyone on my email list the link. And you can sign up for my email list on my website, which is izzestein.com, IZZESTEIN. And I send out the link the day of, and then you can just hop on in.
All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty fantastic stuff. Also, you got on Patreon, you're Izze Stein, right?
Yeah. And the Patreon is also new. I'm looking to add more as people come in. Right now, the perk of the Patreon is that I do the virtual concert, and then I'm going to do a Q&A with just Patreon members after the show. But I really would like to add another event, like perhaps a vinyl listening session where maybe we listen to an album like a Steely Dan album and we just talk about it. I think that just sounds really fun to me.
Boy, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I would get in on that, or try to get in on that if you'd let me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would love it. So, Mike, do you have a favorite Steely Dan album?
Oh, don't do that to me. Don't make me do that.
Right now, what are you leaning towards right now?
Right now, I would probably be leaning toward, because I mentioned them earlier, Countdown to Ecstasy or Pretzel Logic. Mm-hmm. But give me a couple seconds and I'll start thinking about Katie Lied or the Royal Scam. And I'll go, no, I think I'm going to go with the Royal Scam or something, you know? Yeah. I mean, I just like it all so much. Yeah. And it all hits me in such a way that nothing else does. Yeah. And speaks to me in a voice that I didn't even know I had and nobody else could even get to. That it's just singular stuff for me, you know? It's just they stand alone. I mean, I love all other kinds of music and everything, but Steely Dan is just that they just speak to me in a way that nothing else does. And I know that makes me sound weird. But
no, it's true. It's unique.
Yeah, and you know, making it sound weird, they'd probably have it no other way. They'd probably look at me and say, "Okay, you're one of us."
Yeah. No, I mean, because I've now broken down every single Steely Dan album in a video, and as I did each breakdown, it's like every album has incredible moments. I mean, I kind of feel a little bad actually asking that question because I can't really choose a favorite. I mean, I recently did a long road trip and I listened to Royal Scam, and I mean, Royal Scam is just, every track is so special and put together so well. But also Gaucho is really interesting as far as the character goes, but every single album there's moments. So how can you even, it's like picking a favorite child. You just don't do it.
Okay, let me ask you this about Steely Dan.
Okay.
They put out Gaucho, and then they sort of dropped off the face of the universe.
Yep.
We had no idea for a long time whether we were ever going to see anything from them again. Walter was having a lot of troubles and eventually died.
Yeah.
And along the way, somewhere in there, they come back with 2 more albums. Talk a little bit about the difference in those albums and their other earlier stuff that you see.
Well, I think before talking about the difference, I think just the fact that they actually took a 20-year hiatus and then came back and did more. I am not aware of any other band that has done that. And that it's really, I mean, yeah, people take a few years of break, but I mean, 20 years is a really long time and a lot of life happens, and it's just remarkable. They could have put together bad albums and I still would be singing their praises, because that is just incredible to pick up with something after you've changed for decades of time. And not, I mean, both of them changed. in different ways. I mean, Donald Fagen did all his solo albums, or a lot of his solo albums in between. So he had his own personal musical growth. And I just think then on top of the fact that they actually put out these 2 albums, the fact that there are so many amazing moments on these albums is just, it just speaks. I mean, to me, that is what puts them on my Mount Rushmore. The fact that they created excellence for less than a decade in a row, and then they come back and they continue to create excellence. And of course, the Two Against Nature was the Grammy Award winning album. It's a great album. I mean, I love Jack of Speed. That was one of the first Steely Dan songs I heard as well. It's a great horn arrangements on there. And yeah, I mean, Everything Must Go, Godwhacker is, I mean, I mentioned Pixeline, I mentioned Everything Must Go. I love Godwhacker. I think that song is just so much fun, and also an interesting topic. The topic is that it's like hitmen that are like going after God. That's what it's about. I actually didn't know that until I did the album review and I looked into it. And it's like, oh, wow. Like, how do you even think of that? Like, they came up with these topics before ChatGPT and before AI. Like, they were just using their minds. But like, who comes up with that? Like, but as far as the difference between those 2 albums versus the ones in the 70s, I think the context and the culture of the 70s was so rich, and they had so much inspiration around them. I mean, from the first album, the song that is sort of a clap back to John Lennon's Imagine, people debate about it, but the Only a Fool would say that. I mean, that song has such a great point of view, but the reason they were able to create that was because of maybe not specifically John Lennon's Imagine, but you know, the whole sentiment of the time of this counterculture, like, oh, we're gonna be hippies and we're gonna world peace, but we're not really gonna change or do anything. We're just gonna, you know, smoke a lot of weed and, you know, free love. That, I think, the tension of, I mean, a lot of their songs were created from this place of tension, right? Like this wanting to challenge the world around them. And I think the 70s was the perfect environment for them to have that friction. When the 2000s came around, I mean, it was just a completely different world. I think Two Against Nature, it came, I believe did it come out in 2000 or 2001? Now I'm not really sure.
I think 01, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? We have resources. Let me see because I'm curious when it was in relation to, it came out February 2000. So it was before 9/11, which was kind of a really big shift in culture in many ways. I mean, 2000 might as well have been the 90s, and there was a lot of change, there was a lot of new technology, but it wasn't the same tension as the 70s. Everything Must Go coming out a few years later, that was the post 9/11 world with all that came with it. So perhaps there was a bit more tension for them to create from in that album. But I think both eras have merit, honestly. When I did my album breakdowns, the albums from the 70s definitely had a lot more love than the ones from the 2000s. But I think that the 2000s albums have a lot of amazing moments on them. That's what I would say.
They certainly have their place for sure.
Yeah.
They definitely have their place. All right, this is Izze Stein. And you can chill out for just a couple seconds because I got a little something here that I've got to do. We'll be back with a little bit more with Izzy coming up here. But first, let us tell you that the Stolen Water Media Fantasy Football Draft Party is coming up tomorrow, the 11th of August at what is that? At
6:30.
At 6:30. This will be at Dudley's Sports Grill on Henderson. That is on Henderson, just to the southeast of the fabled Knox-Henderson exit. Just go there, head southeast on it. You'll see it there on your right. And it'll be with all the hosts from the Sunset Lounge. Norm, Rob, Alex, Mac, Engel will be there. If you'd like to get even with something that guy has written lately, then here's your chance. Shuby will be there, and a friend of the show, the great and hilariously funny Paul Varghese, is going to be there too. So grab your friends and join us for all the chaos that comes with all of us together and a fantasy football draft. And of course, The Great Food at Dudley's. That is tomorrow at 6:30. So either be by the channel or join us in person if you can. We'd love to see you there. Yeah, get there early and get yourself a good seat. All right, Izze Stein back with us. She is a musician. We've been talking Steely Dan. Do you have anybody else that even approaches Steely Dan in your musical pantheon?
As far as artists that I cover or
that you really, well, both, that you cover and that you really have that kind of regard for?
You know, I mean, I would love to speak about Joni Mitchell for a bit because she was sort of she's the reason that I started writing. And I just think going through all of her albums, she's another person that just really, I mean, what's so cool about Joni Mitchell,
if you want to talk about Joni Mitchell, be my guest. I love her too.
Oh, good, good.
And I know it's really weird for a guy, especially a guy of my demographic, to say that, but greatness is greatness, and she is greatness.
No, that means a lot, actually, that you love her music, because her stuff is, I think a lot of the topics she writes about are very much geared towards women, and I mean, she writes about, like, my favorite album of hers is Hissing of Summer Lawns, even though, of course, they all have their moments, but just that's the one I keep going back to. And I believe, I'm thinking she writes this one song where she's talking about a girl looking at a wedding dress in a window, and that's actually on Hejira, now that I'm thinking of it, another amazing album. But what's so cool about Joni's albums is that she, I mean, first of all, she wrote pretty much solo for a lot of, I think, I have to look into if she wrote all of her songs solo, but she did music and lyrics. You know, I mean, her guitar tunings are unbelievable.
Yeah, I've always thought of her as a solo artist.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, she certainly played solo. And she had bands with her too. But no, I mean, she really transformed throughout her career in an exceptionally baffling way. I mean, she started out doing folk, and then she was doing more pop. I mean, Blue, she was playing piano on Blue, and she played piano. I mean, I have to do a deep dive. I would love to do a deep dive video-wise on all of Joni's albums. It's just and then, you know, the late 70s, she had this whole era of sort of funk added into her folk sound. And I mean, I like, now that I'm thinking about Joni, I've always wanted to learn her songs with the tunings that she used. And maybe that'll be my retirement. I'll just like spend 5 hours a day just trying to figure out how to play guitar like she did.
She is so great. I've always been just a huge fan of hers.
Yeah.
And like I say, I know that's really weird for a guy to say, but
no.
Greatness is greatness. And I don't care who it is. I don't care what it is. If it's greatness, it's greatness. And if I love it, I love it.
Yeah. I think another artist I would put there is Billy Joel. Did you watch the documentary that just came? Are you a Billy Joel fan?
I am.
Yeah. Did you see the the docuseries that just came out about him? I think it was a few months ago. It told his story of like his whole career and life. If you
I don't think I did see this. I'd love to. Where is it?
I am not sure. You know what? Let's figure it out. It's just, I learned so much about everything about him. It rounded out.
I'm one of these guys that when I'm into somebody, I want to know everything about them. I want to go all in, find out just how it is that they do what they do and why they do what they do, and just everything I can.
Yeah.
That's how I'm wired.
That's the way to be. Dive in. Billy Joel and So It Goes is on HBO. It actually premiered a year ago, but I watched it a few months ago.
God, I must have seen this. I can't imagine that being out there without me seeing it, but I can't
really
remember
long.
it, so maybe I didn't.
Yeah. But no, he has some perfect albums in his anthology too, and another solo artist. He's just written some of the best songs. He's written so many of the best songs of all time, and that is just, you know, if someone's able to write one song, that's great, but if someone can write dozens, it puts you in a whole other category.
Yeah, so, when you do it over and over again, then you can kind of look around at the room and say, any questions?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who else tickles your fancy?
Well, I mean, Erykah Badu and Amy Winehouse. I did say on my Mount Rushmore. They're more. Amy Winehouse is from the early 2000s. Erykah Badu from the late 90s, early 2000s. Both of them. I mean, Amy Winehouse doesn't have a big anthology for obvious reasons, but her first album, Frank, is a masterpiece, and she wrote a lot of her songs solo too. She just had such a great point of view, and her voice is so distinctive and delicious. And she also, something that I've taken from learning about Amy Winehouse is she did not like to sing a song the same way twice live. She would always change it up, change the melody or change the way she sang words. And I love that. And that's what I do too. Sometimes I go too far with changing up how a song sounds, but I just think it's fun to get, trick the ear. You were so used to hearing something.
And you're a solo artist. Who's going to say anything to you?
Right. I mean, I definitely want to honor the artist. I don't want to be out here stepping all over someone's work or making it sound so different that you can't even hear the song anymore. But I think there's a way to do it tastefully, and she definitely did that. And then Erykah Badu also has a near perfect, I would say a perfect anthology. Every one of her albums is so interesting, and she's like the queen of flow and soul. And her first album was similar to Steely Dan's in that it was every single song on there was a hit, which like to create any album where every single song is a hit is incredible. But if it's your first album, that's mad respect, because that's like you didn't even have to figure anything out. You know your sound and yourself so well that you can just come right out and lay it down on the first try. I saw Erykah Badu perform live in Madison Square Garden a few years ago, and it was the best live show I've ever been to. She is so talented. She's so good at telling a story and keeping an audience along for the ride, and she just did so many performance art just choices. She was making tea on stage at one point, like brewing tea and pouring it, and it was so small and so engaging. She played all these instruments in the show, and she's going to be at the Hollywood Bowl in a few weeks, so I am hoping that I will get to see her again. So yeah, those are my top choices, I would say.
What's Madison Square Garden like? I've never been to any, and that's an off-the-wall question, I know, but I've never been to anything there.
Oh my gosh. Well, the next time you go to New York, try to see something even if it's a sports game too. It's huge. I mean, the thing is, I'm sure have you been to the Houston Rodeo?
I've never been to the rodeo, but I've been to a few things in Houston.
Yeah. Well, I would say Madison Square Garden compares to the Houston Rodeo as far as the size of it. It's just thousands of people. I mean, something else I got to do last year was I sang the national anthem at a Brooklyn Nets game at the Barclays Center, which is another huge stadium. Mm-hmm. And when you're in something like that, especially when you're on the floor and actually performing, you can't really understand tens of thousands of people right in front of you. And that's what's so wild about these posts that I've been doing is the video breakdown I did of Asia has almost 500,000 views on Instagram. And to just think about what it feels like to sing for 60,000 people in a stadium. And now we're talking about this video has 8 times the amount of people that I saw in person. It's hard to believe, hard to conceptualize numbers that big. And then people, that go viral, they get millions of views, and that's just beyond. I mean, so in short, Madison Square Garden is just it's immense, and there's a ton of history there. And if you're going to Madison Square Garden, you're probably seeing a team or an artist that's great, so you'll have a great time.
I just had to see what you'd have to say about Madison Square Garden.
It's New York, baby. I mean, Taylor Swift got married there for a reason.
All right, now we'll wrap things up here. But before we do, I want to give you a chance to tell everybody where to find your stuff.
I am Izze Stein on all social platforms, and I spell it IZZESTEIN. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I also have my website, izzestein.com, and my email list, which you can sign up for on my website. And as we talked about before, I do a monthly virtual concert, which you can tune in from wherever you are. The next one is this Saturday, August 15th in the evening, which I will send the link out to my email list sign up. So if you want to be a part of that and request some Steely Dan or request another artist, definitely sign up for the list and come to the virtual concert.
Girls got chops, kids. You need to get in on this. She's good. Izzy, cannot thank you enough. This has been fun.
Yes, a lot of fun. Mike, thank you so much for having me, and the whole podcast team. Appreciate your guys' time.
All right. She is Izze Stein. Check her out. We are your dark companion. We thank you very much for being by the channel today. We do need you to help us out by sharing us on your social media. And you know the way we used to say tell a friend back in the day? Well, this is kind of the same thing. Share us on your social media, get us out there, and we will stay after this thing because we like it, we like you. Till next time, bye.
All right. I'm gonna go take my pants off.
Your Dark Companion is a Stolen Water Media presentation.